Hello, my beautiful Sagittarius friends. There are 5 ways that you can understand being Sagittarius in this ancient esoteric framework that you really should get to the bottom of if you want to understand your astrology deeply and completely. My name is Aleena, and welcome to Promethea Astrology. The first layer that you want to understand as a Sagittarius is having Jupiter as your planetary ruler. So in ancient astrology, they understood the sky, the zodiac, to be like its own world. So these 12 signs are like the 12 different kingdoms in the sky world. The planets are the rulers or the gods that rule over these different kingdoms. So Jupiter has 2 zodiac signs that he rules, both Sagittarius and Pisces. So Jupiter in general then sets the tone of what this Sagittarius land is like. This is the leader, this is the king. Leadership sets the culture. So Sagittarius is an embodiment of Jupiter. And for you guys, that is very fortunate because Jupiter is our planet of luck, abundance, good fortune, also philosophy, ideology, big picture thinking, religion, authority broadly. I really think of Jupiter as like Santa Claus energy, Oprah energy. You get a car. You get a car. We are just granting everyone's wishes. Jupiter governs things like philanthropy, again, religion, philosophy, law, justice, abundance, good fortune, good luck. So for Sagittarius, the way this works out is that they tend to be pretty lucky, pretty fortunate people. People tend to find them pretty cool. They tend to be fairly optimistic. Jupiter's also very optimistic, joyous, jubilant, things like that. Tend to have a pretty positive outlook in general. They also, being a Jupiter rule sign, tend to have some kind of core philosophy, ideology. Sometimes it's religion, sometimes it's politics, sometimes it's just a way of life or a philosophy or an ideology more broadly, more abstractly, but they will often have strong convictions, strong feelings about the way things should be, what's right or wrong, or just, again, Jupiter ruling justice can often really be passionate about pushing forward what they think is right and just for the world. The second layer to understanding Sagittarius deeply and completely through this ancient esoteric framework is to understand its element, fire. Sagittarius is a fire sign. So fire as an element, I do have a whole video, by the way, about fire and also about Jupiter if you want to dive into this deeply. This is really just a brief overview. So fire is really the element of passion, of drive, of energy. Also can be very related to the self and self-expression. It's like the light. It's this radiance. It is the you. Fire is also sometimes related to anger, aggression, can be a little bit on that side of things, on the shadow side of fire. Drive and energy. And so Sagittarius tends to be very passionate, and this is also part of them being cool as just having this great energy, this Jupiter energy with lots of it that they just love to spread around, which is related to the third piece that you want to really understand as Sagittarius. What this means is you are also a mutable sign. So mutable means end of a season. So Sagittarius is end of fall, the transition between one place to another. Mutable, very adaptable, very go with the flow here and there. But as a mutable fire sign, this is kind of like a forest fire energy, right? Spreading the fire, spreading the gospel, spreading the passion. And so in this sense, Sagittarius can be a little bit evangelicalizing sometimes. They can be quite passionate about their ideology, philosophy, religion, whatever that is for them. So then they can sometimes want to really push that out and spread it around and let people know this is the good word. This is what we should do. This is what is just. This is what is fair. This is what is right and righteous. Another thing about being a mutable fire sign that is ruled by Jupiter is that these people, Sagittarius people, tend to really like to move around. They like to get around. They like to spread the joy. They often will love to be on road trips or traveling. And fire is also very connected to freedom. And so this mutable nature, you really need to be free to move, to roam, to get around. Freedom is extremely important for Sagittarius and is kind of the archetype of the gypsy for this reason, is one way that I think about Sagittarius, just wanting to live in their truth and their authenticity and what their values are and be free to express themselves and get around and move the way they want to move and create the world they want to create and spread the joy and love. And so the fourth layer of understanding Sagittarius then is understanding the symbol. So Sagittarius is the Centaur, and the Centaur also has its bow and arrow. So we have this idea again of kind of fighting for justice, this really getting to roam around. The horse is wild, needs to be free, has a mission, has the arrow, has what they're fighting for. There tends to be this passion, this drive to actualize and push forth whatever it is they believe in, while needing to be wild and free at the same time. And the fifth and final component, well, with one more bonus at the end, to understanding Sagittarius deeply and completely through this framework is to understand the seasonal component. So Sagittarius is the end of fall. So we are finishing up fall. We're getting ready for winter. And because we're using the tropical zodiac as a Hellenistic astrologer, that would be me, interested in this ancient framework, interested in practicing these ancient tools and technologies of astrology. So then we are now using the seasons, the equinoxes, and the solstices to understand the zodiac rather than the constellations. So we still are using that because the moment that something comes into existence is extremely important. That's the whole philosophical foundation of astrology. So we want to understand the constellations as well. However, at this point, the constellations are no longer aligned with the solstices and equinoxes. So it used to be that during Sagittarius season, the sun would be passing over the constellation Sagittarius. Now, rather than the zodiac being connected to that constellation, it is connected to the season. So Sagittarius season is the end of fall, the last trimester of fall. And so then we can look at this seasonal quality as another layer of understanding Sagittarius. And so I think of this season as, winter is coming. We need to live our lives to the fullest before it gets cold. This is our last hurrah. This is a time to really get out there and get your final zoomies out and do all the fun things before we got to hunker down for the winter for the next 3 months. So be free, my children. Well, you can. This is Sagittarius energy. So the secret sixth piece of understanding Sagittarius deeply and completely is the body part. So another really fun thing about Sagittarius is that it rules the hips and the buttocks. So this is just another piece of understanding how Sagittarius is as fun and free as it is. The hips must move, must be fluid, must get around. This is a very enjoyable part of the body for most people, and this was related to Jupiter as well. Jupiter is our planet of growth and expansion and just large things in general. Humans famous for having the largest butts of any mammals, and something that we tend to really enjoy about each other too. So that's just another fun little piece of trivia for you, that Sagittarius rules the hips and thighs. So that's a little fun, just like Sagittarius. So then to get into Sagittarius Sun, Moon, and Rising. So Sagittarius Sun. So we look at the planets as the different kind of parts of the personality of the character of who you are. So the sun is like the ego, the persona, the light that you shine into the world, the way that you're known. And so Sagittarius Sun people will be probably known for being quite fun, for being the life of the party, for wanting to get around, for doing lots of stuff, for being free and probably passionate about what it is that they think is right and just, and spreading that around to the world. So this is going to be the way that people see you, the way that you're known, and also the energy of the mind. So you might have quite strong convictions around your ideology, especially in your thoughts, and strong beliefs. And then also a Sagittarius Sun is going to be potentially qualities inherited from the father. So you might have had a father, or you might have received your father's fathering to be one of quite passionate, playful, free, loving, fun, loving, joyous, optimistic energy. That could be the type of father that you might have had. And then for a Sagittarius Moon, the moon is going to be the physical body, the emotions, and the subconscious, also qualities inherited from the mother or can represent the literal mother. So a Sagittarius Moon then will have potentially quite a passion for the body, might be very active physically, might be kind of athletic, might like to really need to move around to move the feelings, might kind of process the emotions through the physical body and through the physical energy. This is very common for fire signs. Also might tend to like to dance or do kind of silly, playful, fun things with the body, really using the body for joy and expression. Or it could just be athleticism as well, but sometimes it will be a little bit more fun or unconventional, a little free-spirited in how they use their body to exercise. And then from the emotional standpoint, a Sagittarius moon will probably be quite passionate and convicted about their feelings. They might really have strong feelings about what is right and fair, how they should be treated. They might be very passionate in the way they express their feelings, come off quite fiery. And then again, the moon is related to more how you show up in private settings, how you are at night, especially if you are born during the day. You might not even really identify with your moon sign as much at first. It can be even unconscious to you. And these things that come out in your relationships or with people who are close to you who might really see this in you, but you might not yourself identify with that as much unless you're born at night. If you're born at night, then you might identify even more with the moon sign than the sun sign, especially if you're born like during a full moon with a moon overhead, then you will probably feel and be known for the Sagittarius energy much more. But we would have to look at your birth chart to figure that out. So then moon as the mother, you might experience your mother's mothering as being quite joyous or jubilant or passionate, maybe having strong convictions, maybe quite authoritarian in some way. This could be true for the father if it was the son as well. Jupiter is kind of that authority and having that strong authority about this is what is right, just in the strength in that way. And sometimes this does get flipped, the mother and father for the sun and the moon, but most often that's the way it works out. There can be a bit of a passion for food as well when it comes to a Sagittarius moon sometimes. Food, the body, all of that, passion, fire. And then Sagittarius rising, it's going to be extremely important for you to understand your Jupiter sign. So Jupiter is the planetary ruler, again, of Sagittarius. And so if you're Sagittarius rising, then the sign, the zodiac sign that Jupiter is in for you will be the embodiment of who you are. That'll give us the type of Sagittarius rising that you are. The rising sign is the most important of the sun, moon, and rising because the sun is qualities inherited from the father, also changes signs every 4 weeks. Moon, qualities inherited from the mother, changes sign about every 2.5 days. The rising sign is the most unique point in the chart for you. It changes every 2 hours and is where the mind meets the body, the sky meets the earth. It is the eastern horizon at the point of your birth. So from an ancient Hellenistic standpoint, from that traditional perspective, the rising sign is the most important and kind of the you of yous, notwithstanding your culture, your family, the time you're born in. The rising sign is really the truth of who you are and what you are growing into over the course of this lifetime. And the Jupiter sign and also house placement will give us clues about what the major purpose and focus of your life is. So if you want to look into what your Jupiter house is and what that means, I do have a free download below that will give you all the different house placements of your Jupiter sign. So if you had Jupiter in the second house, for instance, this is the house of money, personal finances. So that might be the major focus and direction of your life if you have Jupiter in the second house. So you can look at that little download below if you want to look at what house your Jupiter is in, to look at what the major direction, purpose, focus of your life is for this lifetime. And so a Sagittarius rising person will just really be everything that I've already articulated. All of the stuff of the sun and the moon and the general stuff, all of that is you and the you of yous. So you will want to really dive into, again, that Jupiter nature. I do have a whole video on Jupiter and the fire signs and the mutable signs. So I do recommend, if you're Sagittarius rising, especially, that you look into all of those things really deeply and completely. And if you want to talk to me about it, I would like nothing more than to talk to you about your astrology. And as a traditional astrologer, I do also specialize in some of these ancient timing techniques. If you want to look into your future and what might be coming up for you, career-wise, interrelationally, or anything like that, it is super fascinating and fun stuff to look at. So feel free to check out my offerings in the link to my website below if you like. And thank you so much for being here. Be well.